All right, JD Atkins back here today at the online clinic by Chief Pigskin with AL Football Chat, sitting here with my co-host Will Johnson, and we now have the pleasure of sitting down with Matt Malone, offensive coordinator of Andalusia High School. Matt, how are you today?
I'm good, guys. How are y'all?
Doing well,
Doing
man.
good, man. So tell the people what you're going to be talking about today.
Well, I got kind of three things. The first one's going to be kind of a game planning deal. It's probably my favorite thing I'll talk about today. It's really something that I'm pretty hardcore about. It's kind of my evolution of game planning, how I've done things in the past, and now how I've kind of gotten to how I do things now. The second one, I'm going to do a screen presentation. Our screen game in Andalusia, I think, is really good. We use it a lot of run action screens, things that I think, and the way we present them is kind of, I'm kind of going to go through how we start out teaching them the base way, and then how we progress throughout the year, and then I got some stuff at the end that's just really, just some ideas. I'm one of those guys when I do these clinics and when I sit down in these things, I want to see, I want to see what you do. I want to hear all the coaching points, but also like getting ideas and stealing stuff, man. And when I see something that I really like and how I can tweak it to how I do things already. So that's kind of, what I'm going to do in the screen presentation. But some of the stuff's from when I was at Prattville with Coach Ross. Some of the stuffs we do at Andalusia now. And, we were more of a drop-back team back then, so we had a lot of drop-back screens. Well, now we're more of an outside zone, wide zone team. Well, now our screens are based off of that. And then the third one I'm going to talk about is condensed sets. Kind of the same deal. The condensed set stuff is, it's really popular in the league. I started out as a condensed set guy, throwing it around, a lot of spacing, stick, and then a lot of smash, drive concepts. Now it's gotten into more of how we use our condensed set stuff off our boot game, our outside zone, our boot throwbacks, and so those are all going to be in that presentation. So all three of them should be pretty good. I'm pretty excited about doing them.
Well, Coach Malone, you're at Andalusia High School, had some great success the last few years, state championship, 2 years ago now. You guys, like I said, have had sustained success. I just heard you say outside zone, and so I want you to talk about that for a minute, because I think, for me, I think it's one of y'all's best plays. Can you talk to us about why outside zone for you in Andalusia?
Man, when I came to Andalusia, one of the things Coach Taylor told me was, the only thing I want to keep in is outside zone, because they were really successful with it. We ran a version of it at Prattville. It was more of a reach and run type deal. It wasn't really the wide zone that we run in Andalusia. And we run it's an insert wide zone almost every time. We'll split it some, we'll run it without a sniffer some, but most of the time we run an insert wide zone. And so Coach Wyndham, which is my offensive line coach, he's now the head coach at Straughn. He was, one of the best teachers I've ever seen at it, and our kids believed in it. It gave us a chance. It didn't really matter how good we were up front. It gave us a chance, and so we started. My first year, man, I tried to mold who we were at Prattville with the outside zone, and it just didn't work. Well, my second year, I realized how valuable it was and what we were doing with it. And so now I've kind of changed the whole offense to be around that play.
Okay.
So our play action's off of outside zone for the most part. Our screens are off of outside zone. All the stuff we do is to go with that play. Yeah. Study a lot of the NFL guys, because they're so big in the wide zone, like the 49ers and teams like that. But we got to tweak ways we do ours, because since it's so heavily insert, we get so many people that want to man up our sniffer and play our sniffer. We have to, how we handle that guy is really important for our scheme. But, for the most part, I just think it gives us a chance year in, year out. If it's 4th and 2, our kids probably know what we're going to call.
Yeah.
It's just one of those plays our kids believe in, and they run it from a young age.
Yeah.
Our junior high team runs it. Our high school kids have been running it for multiple years. So I think it's just a really versatile play for us offensively.
You being from Andalusia and now coaching at Andalusia and having the opportunity to bring a state title back to Andalusia, talk about what that means to you.
I coached at Andalusia when I first graduated college, and I left for a long time, and I came back, and it was really surreal. Like when we won the whole thing, seeing my buddies come back, and I was getting phone calls from all my friends and stuff, and we had gotten beat in the semis my senior year, and that was like 15 years ago. So, it was just to see the way the community, man. We had when we came home that night, just people waiting at the stadium. We did a big pep ride in the stadium that night because we played at 11 a.m. in Auburn, so we were able to come back and. Just the whole community. It's a small town, and they love football, and it had been since the 70s since they had won one. But the other thing about it was doing it. Coach Taylor had been so close so many times. I mean, they had gotten beaten in the semis 6 times out of in 8 years or something crazy. So, to be able to get over that hump for him, you could just see, in his tears and see how much it meant to him and his family. So. And all of our coaches have been there for a long time with Coach Taylor, and he's, kind of like a father figure for us. So both of those things, the community and Coach Taylor, it was just an unreal experience, and, something you can't even put it in words. When you walk, when you're driving on that bus into Jordan-Hare Stadium, and, you look out there, and there was literally, thousands of Andalusia fans, and you walk through them. I always tell people, the most fun part was not beating Cherokee County. The most fun part was walking into Jordan-Hare Stadium and all those people just, that you could just tell how much it meant to them, man. So it was a really, really surreal experience. I get kind of chill bumps now still thinking about it. So.
Well, you mentioned Coach Taylor. Could you tell people what it's like to work for a Hall of Famer like him, somebody that's done it well for a really long time now? What's that like, being able to go in to work every day under a guy like that?
I think with Coach Taylor, I think the main thing is he cares about the kids more than anything. He cares about his coaches. Dude lets us coach. I tell people all the time, and this is a compliment to him, Coach Taylor could not, if I died tomorrow, he could not call the plays because he trusts me enough to know he doesn't care what the plays are, and same thing with Coach Williamson on defense. He couldn't call the defense. But that's because he trusts us and he believes in us, and he doesn't have to sit in there, and I don't have to come in there on Sunday and go through my game plan with him because he knows I'm going to do my job. I've been with coaches where it's like, all right, well, how are you going to attack this? How are you going to handle this? Well, he doesn't do all that, man. It's just if we're not doing our job, we'll talk about it. But for the most part, it's, hey, he's coaching the kids. He's handling the program. He's been such a leader to me and all these young guys we got on our staff, because you see how he handles us, how he handles all the things that go along with being a head coach, especially of a pretty big program. And he's a guy that he firmly believes in hiring the right guys, letting them coach, letting them do their thing, and then and trying to figure out ways to be better every year. He's real. I told Will when he came down there and talked that, man, I'll come in there and he'll have rearranged his office, every 4 months. He'll have rearranged the locker room every 4 months because he's always just trying to make it just a little bit better, just a little bit better. He does the same thing in the indoor, and then he does the same thing with our kids and our, I tell people we won the state championship, and we come in that spring and he wants to change up. Let's change up a few things, because he never wants things to get stagnant, never wants things to get old. And sometimes we end up going back to how we had it, and sometimes I like this better. So he's never going to just allow you to just keep doing it the way you've always done it. He always wants – he'll watch a YouTube video and call me at 10 o'clock at night hey, man, I just watched this, maybe we ought to look at that. Sometimes I'm like, Coach, we're not doing that. Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, that's actually a pretty good idea. He'll come in. So we're playing – last year we weren't as talented last year as we were the year before. And he kept, giving me different, maybe I ought to look at this, maybe I ought to look at this. Man, but then, by the end of it, he had really, expanded my, sometimes even if you feel like you're a creative guy, sometimes you get in ruts where you just stay with things just because it's comfortable. And, I look at myself as somebody who's pretty creative, but at the same time, I'm a threat to life, man. This has been good to us. We're going to do this and, and be very vanilla with it. And so he'll just keep pushing ideas on you. Sometimes I'm like, I don't like that, but this is what we can do with it, And so he's really, really about evolving as the season goes on. Something that Coach Taylor is the best I've ever seen at is, and man, in his 10 years at Andalusia, or his 9 years at Andalusia, they played Thanksgiving or better like 8 times, which is incredible.
That's incredible.
And then 2 years before, while he was at Strawn, they made it to the semis the 2 years before he came to Andalusia. So something like 12 years, he's made it to the Thanksgiving or better like 9 times. But anyway, so we start out pretty average every year. But, man, like, by the time the season's over, we are rolling in the playoffs. Like, it doesn't matter if you're 6-4 going in, we're going to be hot late. And he does that because he's constantly evolving and changing things and getting your best players on the field. And he does a really good job of roster management. We're always thinking about how we can get young guys, where can we get them at, where can we fit them in at, to try to get them ready to play the next year, man. And like during our bye week, we'll take – I know this is a super long answer, but whatever. Man, during our bye week, like, we'll take – and it will be like 2 of the 4 days that we practice will be like all young guys. It'll be like good on good young guys. Okay. No seniors available. Like, we'll have a JV scrimmage. Like, we do a ton of that stuff on our bye week really cool. Because, like, we're trying to get those guys ready to play for the next year. Yeah. Because, we're not building a team. We're trying to build a program and maintain a program.
I've never heard of somebody doing that. It's really cool.
And our bye week now that's week 10. So it's not like we're bye week middle of the year. Yeah. This is right before the playoffs, and 2 of our 4 days, we're practicing with just our younger guys. We let our older guys go home.
I imagine that probably creates a little bit more buy-in with your young guys, and you see more retention, kids not quitting, stuff like that, because they feel involved.
Yeah, I mean, and our older guys, we basically will make them stick around, and we'll make them stand on the sidelines. We'll cheer them on, and it'll be kind of a, especially late in the year, it's just a good thing to get those guys because they played a JV season, and then they take, a couple of weeks where they're just scout team dummies and, standing around. Well, then you get where it's basically – those guys are having a, and it's a full-on scrimmage. We'll put the ball down at 20 and let's get after it. And you also get to see with that, who are your dudes coming up? Like, what can your young quarterback do? Things that you wouldn't know. And it gives me and Jared a chance to go against each other, or I'll let, my wideouts coach call the plays and run that whole deal. So, man, that's one of the best things we do, though, is our constant evolving throughout the season and getting ready for the next season.
You talked a lot about Coach Taylor and the impact he's had on you, but you've also worked for some pretty good other names and head coaches. Talk us through kind of your journey of coaching and how you got to Andalusia.
Man, so I graduated college at Alabama. I came back. I coached at Andalusia for 2 years for Brian Seymour, and then I ended up going to Georgia, and I worked for a guy named Tommy Parks. And Tommy's a really sad situation. Tommy Parks, one of the best football coaches I've ever been around in my entire life. And I was there for 1 year, and Brian Seymour left Andalusia, got the head coaching job at MGM, and he hired me as offensive coordinator. Tommy ended up passing away not long after I left. He was the most in-shape dude I knew. Went for a 4-mile run, came home, had a heart attack, 40 years old. But Tommy was an insane, had just an insane impact on my life. And the way he was like a player's coach, but the most organized dude. Like, I never saw him drop a football play. Never once saw him drop a play, but it was all about handling the program, the organization of practice. He was huge on practice, and that's where I kind of learned to practice. So then I went to MGM. I spent 2 years at MGM with Brian Seymour. We won 5 games our second year, which was the first time they'd done that in a while. I know Golson's really changed that now, but back then that was a big deal to win 5 games at MGM. And so Coach Seymour got the Demopolis job. I went with him to Demopolis. Spent 1 year in Demopolis. We got beat in the semis, went for 2 to go to the state championship, 17 seconds left, incomplete, lost. St. Paul's beat us 20-19. And that offseason is when Caleb Ross had been at Opelika, left Opelika, got the Prattville job, and he called me. We had a relationship from when I was at MGM and he was at McGill. So Caleb called me, and man, what an impact Caleb had on me as far as the way things should be run in a big-time program, the way things should be organized. Like, still to this day, like, I use his practice schedule and I use his practice scripts, and man, like, everything has got to be scripted to a T. The schedule's got to be down to a T. Caleb is the most organized human I've ever been around. Like, there is no wasted time, no wasted anything with him. We would spend long hours up there, but, like, you had a job. You weren't up there just, like, talking about, you know, what's going on in the neighborhood. Like, it was every second of every day was well detailed. And the way he handled staff meetings, Caleb's just, you know, super. And I still call my offense a lot of how he called his, because it was everything was just very well organized. And then I left Caleb. I went to Coach Taylor. We were having a kid, and we want to be closer to home. And Coach Taylor called me, and so that's when I came back to Andalusia, and I've been there the last 4 years.
Well, Coach, I'm going to pose this question to you just like I have everybody. You think you heard it a minute ago. What is your why? What got you coaching ball? What gets you up every morning and takes you to work?
Man, you know, I knew I wanted to be a coach from the time I was probably in middle school. My mom would still pull out like old football plays I've drawn. I mean, from like church when I was like 8 years old. All my college notebooks are full of football plays, high school notebooks. My high school head coach, though, is, you know, Tom Causey. He's really the reason I got into this deal. Coach Causey had probably the most impact on me of any person other than my dad, as far as being a man and learning how to handle myself. And you know, and he wasn't easy. He was really hard to deal with at times, but he really put the pressure on you to grow up and to be a good person. And I wanted to do that for other people. And so Coach Causey is really probably the main reason I got into this whole deal. And I mean, drawing plays is fun. I love all that part of it. But, you know, trying to figure out ways to impact kids, you know, that's why we all do it. I mean, we're not doing it for the paycheck. I mean, you know, you and I both know that. But being around young people, I mean, it keeps you young too. Yep. You know, being around these young people, like, I feel like I'm still, you know, 20 at heart, even though I'm now about to be 35. And so, yeah, I love that aspect of it. I love seeing kids that come from nothing, you know, get something out of this game. That's probably my favorite part of it. But definitely Coach Causey's impact on me is why I probably became a football coach.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you being here today, man. We're fired up to listen to your presentation, hopefully steal a few things. And like I said, this is Will Johnson, J.D. Atkins, with AL Football Chat here at the online clinic put on by Chief Pigskin in Birmingham, Alabama. This was Coach Matt Malone of Andalusia High School. Again, thank you, Coach.
Thank you,
y'all.